Hey folks, this is Anthony Kilner from Supernal Magazine Australia and our Supernal Magazine interview series. And I have got an absolutely amazing person here to have a chat with me in Hannah Swinnerton. This issue that we're talking about today, Hannah, is about bullying. It's something you've experienced, and I think it's important because we're talking about that in this issue of the magazine that we're working on, the September issue. So for our people that want to watch this video, tell us a little bit about who is Hannah.
So my name's Hannah. I'm 26. I'm from the Mornington Peninsula. I love to go to the gym. I love doing diamond pictures, and I like having fun.
Right. Well, sound like every other normal sort of young person I know, really. Just doing stuff. To the point, I've read some of your story, and we had a conversation the other week about the extremes of bullying that you went through, which started in primary school. Talk us through that a little bit, as much and in as much detail as you want, of course, because it's pretty raw still.
Yeah. So throughout primary school, I was bullied for not being, wasn't a average size person. I was a little bit bigger. So people thought it was okay to bully, and they would call me names and spread rumours around. Went to the teachers for support to tell them what was going on, and they wouldn't listen to me.
Yeah, it was just, I think, and I'm hoping that these days young people are being pulled up on that by teachers, better when they were, when you were back in primary school.
Yeah, well, I hope so too.
Yeah, because it can be, I've been on the receiving end of bullying, so I understand it fairly intimately as well. So that sort of moved on to then high school as well. And I was interested about that because it really, really made a big difference to your life at high school, didn't it?
Yeah, so throughout high school, the bullying kept going and going and going. And same thing through primary school, went to the teacher, they did nothing. And then it kept going. I got it to school, from school, after school, plus social media. There's no escape from it. And then went home one night crying and actually locked myself in my room because I couldn't handle it anymore, and wrote a speech on bullying and read it out to 600 students at a whole school assembly.
Which is pretty powerful. I know you were nervous about getting up to do that speech, but did you find after speaking up that you felt more empowered?
Yeah, well, I did. I felt more empowered. I felt like my voice was heard, like bullies came up to me saying sorry, and we didn't realise that it was affecting you that bad, and the teachers saw the difference as well.
Which is, it's lovely, I guess, but it doesn't take away from the pain that you have to experience. So your parents, and we talked about your parents and your mum being really good, and during that period, things got really out of control. You were diagnosed with massive depression and anxiety. You went to the doctors, and talk us through that, because doctors quite often want to put people straight away on drugs, but drugs aren't for everybody.
So I went to the doctors and we're talking to them about the stuff that I was going through. And we were talking about all options, and they did a mental health plan for a psychologist, and then they gave me like different options on antidepressants. Well, I tried it and it wasn't really working. So I went off them and then tried them again, and it's been one of those things that you try to be on them, but you don't want to get addicted to them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think
you don't want to rely on them.
Yeah, so it's really important that, because you sort of indicated you did a bit of work around looking at what they were and what they could do to you, and investigating into that a little bit more. So I think it's important everyone has the choice, because what works for one person might not work for another. I think that's important. So what was the turning point? So the ugliness from social media, because this is something that thankfully people my age didn't grow up with. So back in the day, we didn't have mobile phones. If you wanted to see someone, you saw them at school. You'd maybe see one or two after school, but that was about it. Social media became a real problem, didn't it, with people sending you messages and putting stuff on Facebook and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, social media is pretty bad. Like, you could put a post on and people judge you. And like nowadays, you can put comments on Facebook and you get backlash from it. It's just one of those things that you can't have your opinion. And like back in the days when I get bullied, like you could put a post on and people would start on you, and then you had people cutting out photos of my head and sticking it on pigs and cows and then uploading it to social media, which would just go around and around and around.
I can't imagine how horrible that would be to have to see that, because it's not like you can, I know a lot of other people just say, look, for goodness sake, just put the phone away and don't touch it. But that's not really how it works with the younger generation.
Yeah. A lot of people say block them, report them, turn your phone off, go off social media for a week. But that's not the point sometimes, because sometimes you can walk down the street, or you could walk to school or come home from school and you still get it. You still see them.
Mm-hmm. And they're just as bad in person as they are from the cyberbullying side of things.
Yeah, like there's no escape from it sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's the sad part. There is no escape from it. And I think, I haven't looked at youth suicide figures or anything like that from bullying, but I would imagine, based on your experience and knowing that unfortunately there are kids out there taking their lives or self-harming because of it, because people aren't taking responsibility for their actions. They just think it's okay. But I don't know, it's not about blaming, but do you think that the kids that do this, it's the parenting that's caused the problem? Do you think it's peer group pressure? What are your thoughts?
I think it's a bit of everything. It depends what the person's going through at the time.
Yeah, because it's pretty tough, because I'd imagine you would have had some pretty, really deep, not so good moments to have to live through.
Like a few times I wanted to give up, but I had a loving family that I didn't want to leave. Like, I could have those thoughts, but I knew that a loving family will be lost without me, so I just kept fighting through.
Well, I'm going to say all kudos to you, because what we're touching on here is only a fraction of what you've been through, and I think just to be able to get up and talk about it is really important. The thing about that, I guess, the important thing that you're sort of saying is it is important to be able to talk to people that you love, because they're going to help you.
Yeah.
I think, did you find it hard to talk to your parents?
Not really, because when I came home, they would know when I've had a good day and a bad day, so they sensed it, because the way I was. Like, I could walk in happy, but then if I walked in and went straight in my room and shut the door, they knew that I had a shit day.
Okay, yeah. Well, I guess parents are a bit like that. They do keep a bit of an eye on us most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is good. What about, have you got siblings?
I have an older sister and younger brother.
All right. Have they been through similar sort of stuff?
My sister went through bullying, and she dropped out at year 10, and my brother dropped out of school because he just couldn't handle it.
Okay. And in all of this, have you sort of managed to do the whole sharing between yourselves as to how you all feel?
Yeah.
So that's obviously really important to be able to talk about that as well.
Yeah, as we went to the same schools through primary and secondary, but my sister and brother dropped out because it was just hectic for them.
Yeah, I think that it's going to impact people on different levels at different times, depending on what you're all going through. So, yeah, I totally get that. If there was, how would you tell a younger person now, or explain to a younger person than yourself that's going through bullying, what would you be saying to them?
Never feel like you're alone.
Mm-hmm.
Always speak up. Don't bottle it up, because you can physically drain yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to someone you love, even if you can't. There's always Lifeline that you can text, so no one else has to know. Just make sure you talk to someone if you're struggling with bullying.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I probably should have mentioned that at the start, that if anyone is struggling, and I'll put at the end of this video, I'll put a little link in there for things like Lifeline and support lines. And when we actually put the story together in the magazine, we're going to put together a whole lot of sort of a list of all sorts of support services that people can contact if they get into trouble. I think that's an important point, is one, don't feel alone, because it is incredibly lonely and at times, and
especially at this current time, don't feel alone. Make sure you reach out to someone.
Yeah, well,
COVID-19 thing, because it's pretty bad. Like,
yeah.
You can't see your family, you can't see your friends, you can't go to the gym. Like, mental health is a big impact, and people usually go to the gym to help with their mental health, and you can't do that, and people struggle. Yeah,
no, they're really good points. I was going to sort of lead you into those. You just said that beautifully, because I know lots of people, not just young people, but older people as well, are struggling. And when you can't see your family and friends, it's really tough. And obviously there are people dying throughout all of this. So, going to funerals and all the rest of it, or not going, as the case may be, does make it particularly hard.
And seeing four walls is hard, more isolating in that as well.
Yeah, right. I totally get that too.
And that's what brought me. To start a new project as well.
Yeah, well, this is Young People with a Purpose.
Yeah.
Excellent, because I was going to ask you about that. So, Young People with a Purpose. I was lucky enough to talk to you before you had your first session, and you had your first session last week. So, talk us through it.
So I organised a Zoom meeting in a circle online. It's the first one, because the first one I've done, I did at Frankston Beach, which you can't do it in these circumstances. So Young People with a Purpose was getting young people together just to talk, chat, ask them how they were, ask them how they're going in the COVID period, and to share a story about them, what they've been through, and just keep communicating, just keep that cycle going.
Yeah.
And so to know you're not alone.
Yeah, I think that's the point. I think too, the fact that you had 9 people is amazingly good as a first off. You're trying it for a bit of an experiment on Zoom and stuff.
Yeah.
What did they talk about? You don't have to mention names, of course, but what did they bring up?
Some of them went through bullying, and some were assaulted. Lots of other different things. Went through drugs, and a few people mentioned suicide, attempting suicide, because they just couldn't deal with it. Yeah.
Do you think the ability or the positivity about knowing that you're not alone, is that encouraging them to sort of look a bit deeper into themselves or spread the word a bit more? And I guess you're there just to guide them.
Yeah, so that it just felt like they had a space that they could talk. Like, sometimes people can't talk to their parents and that about problems. So it's good to interact with young people.
Yeah, no, I think it's good.
See what they're going through. No, they're not alone.
Did you? I mean, what would be sort of a rough age group that we're talking about here?
Well, we're talking about that, and we think we're going to do 12 to 30, but then we thought that some of the topics that we're covering can get really intense.
Mm-hmm.
So we're probably thinking 15 to 30.
Okay. Yep.
Just because of some of the topics are really heavy.
Okay. So maybe there's an avenue there for doing a separate young person's one as well, because you know, if you needed to do a group, say somewhere, 10 to 15, and then you got 15 to 30.
Yeah.
That I could see that being a really positive thing as well. If you've got young people that want to get on and have a chat. Do you find that people around that 13 age are wanting to talk about this sort of stuff?
I'm not really sure. I haven't really looked into it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well,
but it's an avenue that I could look into.
Yeah, well, I think it's something we could talk about a little bit later down the track. If we can help you out with something there. Now, for people that want to find out a little bit more about young people with a purpose, the email address is youngpeoplewith a purpose at gmail.com.
Yeah.
So they can just email you and you can talk them through it first.
Yeah, we've also got a Facebook page as well and Instagram account, so people can contact via there.
By there as well, and that's just all young people with a purpose.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool. Excellent. Well, what we'll do is we'll make sure, obviously, that we post that information. So for our viewers here, we're doing an interview for the magazine in written form that's being done through Brooklyn. And she's got the audio files from our chat the other week, so she'll be putting some stuff together, hopefully finished today. But you never know, young interns. We won't say any more. But no, look, that's really good. I want to say very honestly that it's been a pleasure sort of meeting you and then having a chat, and because we did connect must have been just over 12 months ago, very briefly. So really lovely to sort of get to you and have a chat and sort of not go into the depths of how bad bullying can be without cheapening it, but explaining to people that it is bad, but there is a way out of it. And you're living proof of that. So
there's always light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, so no, that's brilliant. And so thank you very much. And for viewers of this, look out for the story on Hannah in the September 2020 issue. And of course, thank you very much for being on video, Hannah, and I'll make sure we post up how people can get in touch with you at the end of this video.
Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much, and we'll talk soon.